Shalom Aleichem, Erev Tov. We are continuing in the writings of Rabbi Chaim David Halevy in his book Aseret Harav. We're discussing the question of how does the mechanism of Teshuvah work? I mean, how does Teshuvah work? We know that we can do Teshuvah. That we know. But why? Why can I do an Avera with actions? And then my words are good enough to just let me get off the hook. And so we discussed last week an answer. And if you're looking for the PDF, it's attached to the Zoom invitation in the Google Classroom. If you need it, I can text it to you. You have it, bro?
You texted it to me.
Yeah, last time I did text it to you. Marlene, you have it?
We have it in the Google?
It's in the Google Classroom at the bottom. It says Aseret Harav. That one.
Because there's 3 Google Classrooms. So that would be
It's in the Shiviti night Kollel class and a few other ones too, but for sure that one. Rabbi Chaim David Halevy gave us an answer last week based on the writings of Rabbi Yosef Albo. Rabbi Yosef Albo, who wrote the book Sefer Ha'ikarim. Imagine if I asked who the U.S. president was and nobody knew. No, that happens all the time, by the way. It happens all the time. Imagine you go and ask you, well, what day of the week is today? They don't know. At a certain point, we learn Torah, we have to start remembering names of Chachamim, who they were, where they lived. My recommendation to you, and I do this a lot in my classes, I stop when I explain something about a Chacham. Get a notebook. You want to be lazy, you could use your phone, your iPad, whatever you have. And make a list of rabbis, books, names, dates, times. And every time you hear a new rabbi's name, you just write it down. And then it'll help with the memory. Rabbi Yosef Albo wrote a book, Sefer Ikarim, The Foundations of Jewish Faith. I have no idea if this book exists in English or not. Likely there's some old edition in English, but it's not a work that is studied, unfortunately, in contemporary circles very often. Rabbi Yosef Albo suggested that every chet, I'm on page Kuf Tzadichet, that's going to be page 4 of your PDF, page 4 of your PDF. Look at the most recent one. There's not 8 attachments in tonight's class. Refresh your Google Classroom. I'll send it to you again. It's on your text, Barry?
Did you text it on WhatsApp?
I said regular text. I sent it again. So, in order for an action to stick on a person, whether a good action or a bad action, a crime, a mitzvah, there are 2 things that are required. Ratzon and hakara. Ratzon is desire, willingness. Hakara is consciousness. So to be conscious of what I'm doing. There can be a person who wants to do what they're doing, but they're not conscious of it. Give me an example. Intent. Let's use the word of intent. No, intent is... yeah, ratzon is good. Intent is good for a ratzon. So intent and consciousness. Give me a person who has intent but has no consciousness of what they're doing.
I don't know if maybe like the case where you say like shachol, nira, they're all just automatically if you're not really thinking of what you're doing.
Okay, don't give me a halacha case. That's a case, but
in the morning says Kriyat Shema to be Yotze Mitzvah Kriyat Shema without kavanah. So he's intending to fulfill the mitzvah, but he's not having any consciousness in the actual asiyat the mitzvah, so to speak.
All of you guys are too religious for me.
Hitler, יימח שמו.
Whoa. Yeah, what about him?
He has good intention, but he did it bad.
Let me tell you this. You have a drunk person commit a crime. Did he want to commit that crime? Probably. Yeah? He stole something when he was drunk. Why did he steal it? Because he wants it. Does he have any consciousness while he's doing that of his actions? No, he's inebriated. He's not in his full capacities. That doesn't mean that he didn't commit a crime. But that means that the crime that he committed was committed under the influence of X, Y, Z. That also could be a bad thing. We're not saying that it gets him off the hook. We're just saying that when a person acts, in American law they call this an insanity plea. A person, it's not, insanity doesn't mean, they suffer from a mental illness. That's not an insanity plea. It's at the time of committing the crime, they agree, they're pleading guilty to committing the crime. And clearly, you have a video of John shooting Bob. But John is telling you that in that he has no recollection. Something happened, he blacked out, this is trauma, whatever situation. That's a different law than someone who intends and is conscious while committing the crime. The flip side is also true. What's the flip side? A person who's forced to sign a contract under duress. Yitzchak, I like your car. I want you to sign a paper giving me your car. My friend Baruch here has a gun to your head. Now you want to give me your car? Yitzchak says, no, I don't want to give me a car. But what's he going to do? The other choice is to die. So he gives me the car. Now I have a paper that says, Yitzchak gave me the car. But he did that, yes, definitely he did that consciously. But he didn't intend to. He didn't want to do this. In order for a person to do an avera and to be guilty of that avera, there has to be both ratzon and hakara, both intent and consciousness while they are doing this avera. When a person does teshuvah, how does teshuvah work? There's a three-part process of teshuvah. I'm going to tell you now. I have a friend who's a rabbi, wrote an article. Many people got upset at him. All of this talk in this time of the year, the king is in the field, Hashem is near, all of this teshuvah derashot. I'm not saying they're bad. They're helpful in inspiring a person to do teshuvah, but they're not teshuvah themselves. I don't know what it means the king's in the field, but the fact that the king's in the field doesn't mean that you did teshuvah. That just means the king's in the field. I saw a picture of Elvis Presley in the field. The king is in the field. There's a lot of things that you hear about in the talks of teshuvah. It doesn't mean that you did teshuvah. How do you do teshuvah? There's actually a halachic formula how you do teshuvah. What do you do? Rambam tells us in the laws of teshuvah. Yeah, look here, very good. So that's part of it. Umahi teshuvah. Look in Kuf Tzadichet. Look in the middle of the paragraph. What is teshuvah? Step 1. Shi'azov hachote chito. The sinner has to stop sinning. You can't keep doing the crime while doing teshuvah. The second step, a person should regret. My mother said charata. Charata means I regret what I did when I did it. I feel bad that I did it. And the third, tzarich lihidvadot bisfatav, in his lips, a person has to confess, I did this avera, to own up to the avera. Now when a person does charata, I regret that I did it, what are they telling you? Were they conscious of their chet? By admitting guilt, you're saying, I know that I did a chet. But what are they telling you about their intent? I wish I didn't do it. I wish I didn't do it. That charata, says Rabbi Yosef Albo, is the mechanism which allows one to do teshuvah. It shows that at the time of doing the chet, I had consciousness, but I did not have intent. How do you know if a person has intent? You say, hey, do you know that you hurt my feelings last week? What do they tell me? I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to hurt your feelings. What if they tell me, yeah, sure, I know, and I would do it again if you would come to my house? What does that person tell you about their intent? that they have no regret, that means they fully intended, that means you're a criminal. But a person who says, wow, I really didn't intend to hurt you. I hurt you. I mean, I admit that I hurt you. Clearly you're hurt. I didn't mean to. That already shows that you don't have both intent and consciousness. That's where Teshuvah begins.
But what if you're at a certain point and you have intent and you have awareness and consciousness, and then things happen, you meet people, you talk, you read, and you say, I think back then I shouldn't have done that, and now I'm doing it. So at the time you could have had both, but now you're saying,
our rabbis tell us of a type of Teshuvah which doesn't work. Do you remember? One who does a chet and says, don't worry, on Yom Kippur I'll ask forgiveness.
yeah, no, I don't mean
That doesn't work. Why? Because you're fully intending now to do a chet, and you know that you. Most people who do chataim, what our rabbis tell us, En adam choteh, a person does not sin, ela im ken nichnas bo ruach shtut, unless momentarily a moment of craziness falls on them. What does it mean, moment of craziness? It means, yes, then in the moment, I really wanted to do this Avirah. I'm not denying that. But in the context of my life and where I am, I realize that my thinking then was wrong. This is what's allowing the Teshuvah to work. Yeah? This is a good point. You're driving home this point. So let's read the next section. So everything I said today, we already did last time. The next section, I asked you to research the difference between petach and charata. Do you remember the difference between petach and charata? Did you have a chance to look it up at all?
Yeah, I think so.
Tell me, Pam, the difference between... So there are two ways. A person makes a neder. A person vows something. But I don't know the difference in English, an oath and a vow. A person makes a neder. They come now to Chacham, say, please do hatarat nedarim for me. I want to take back what I said. There are two ways in which a person can perform hatarat nedarim, either through a petach or through a charata. What are those things? Pam?
Okay, so I think they have to establish one of two things. No, one possibility is that the person who made the vow was missing some kind of information that, based on that, had they known it, they would never have made the neder. Like they were misinformed about something. Like they thought they had to do something, but they didn't really. Or they were misinformed about the situation that they were in, and somehow the vow was a mistake because of that.
That's one.
That's one possibility. The other possibility is that they have to establish that the vow, because of its nature or its wording, was invalid in the first place. For example, if the vow was very vague, or if it was impossible.
Wait, don't give an example. Don't give an example. Just leave it what you said.
Okay.
Very good. Two things Pam said. Petach, charata. Charata means I come to the Chacham and say, Chacham, I made a neder, but I regret that I made it because it's causing me all kinds of problems in my life, and I if only I would have known then what it would cause me now, I would have never made it. That's called charata. Charata literally means regret, but regret not just today. Even then, had I known what I know now, I would have not done it. Now, if a person tells the Chacham, no, I don't regret it. Then I was fully aware, I knew, and I still would have made that neder, but I don't want it anymore now. At that point, you can't use the mechanism of charata, because he's telling you that then he would have, so the Chacham has to find a petach. A petach means an opening. I have to create some kind of situation in which you would say, you know what, if I would know that, I wouldn't have done that. So that if you would have known the effect on your wife, if you would have known the mamanama, if you would have all kinds of ways to open a petach. That's the job of the Chacham, is to find the petach to allow now, if I knew that, okay, definitely I wouldn't make it, and then we could annul this vow. So these are two different things, petach and charata. Now when it comes to our case, let's see how this is important. On the bottom of page Kuf Tzadichet, so we are in that section where it says Chacham okeret neder mikaro. A Chacham can annul a neder retroactively. Let's see what that means. Lahavanat omek mahut charata. To understand the depth of charata, what it means. Nistaya b'halacha minyana diyoma. Let us talk about something that is relevant to this time of year. Hatarat nedarim. We do hatarat nedarim in the regular halachic community, usually at least on Erev Rosh Hashanah. Yeah. Sfaradim also add in usually also on Erev Yom Kippurim. The Mekubalim do 4 times hatarat nedarim. 1 40 days before the beginning of Yom Kippurim, 30 days before I think they do, something like that. And then they do Erev Rosh Hashanah, Erev Yom Kippurim. But this is Mecca, Hatarat Nedarim. We come in front of 3 Chachamim, they do for us Hatarat Nedarim. But today, usually you don't have 3 Chachamim during your Hatarat Nedarim. Hopefully you at least have 1. Hopefully you at least have 1. Not every rabbi is a Chacham to do Hatarat Nedarim. You have to know something about Nedarim, how they work. But let's say you have Hedyotot, yes? You come to them, do Hatarat. How does Hatarat Nedarim work? Let's read. Shanin, we learned in the Gemara. Really in the Mishnah. HaMekadesh Isha. A person who marries a woman, al menat, with a condition. So a person can say, you are married to me on condition that. And if the condition, for example, you can marry me on condition that now is nighttime. If it's daytime, is she married? No, it's a condition. Yeah. You are married to me on condition she'en aleha nidarim, that there are no nidarim on you. You have no vows that you made. I once knew a person who married a woman, not married her, he got engaged to her. Right before the wedding, he found out that she owes hundreds and thousands of dollars in debt, mostly for shopping at Macy's.
Oh.
I'm not exaggerating. If I would tell you hundreds of thousands, I'm not exaggerating. Debt collector's account, all kinds of things, for shoes and skirts and all kinds of fantastical things. How many clothing can you wear? And he didn't know. He didn't know. So he said, I marry you, but only on condition that you don't have any nidarim. But they found that she has nidarim. So is she married or not married? Ena mekudeshet. What does it mean ena mekudeshet? In order to marry another man, what does she need to do? Nothing. She had her chuppah. There was a rabbi, there were witnesses, there was a ring, there was everything. The next day she goes and sleeps with another man, she's totally okay. If he made a t'nai, the t'nai was a condition. I marry you on condition that. And that condition makes it a nullified wedding, so there's no wedding. And I'm mekudeshet, she's not married. Al menat she'en ba mumin. I marry you on condition that you have no blemishes. Let's say no illnesses. No scrapes, cuts, bruises, wounds, diseases I didn't hear about. V'nimtzu b'mumin. And guess what? She goes to the doctor, finds out she has all kinds of illnesses. Ena mekudeshet. The Gemara says she's not married. U'baraita sham. And there in the Baraita says, Halacha etzel chacham. What if she goes to the chacham? It's the day after the wedding. She goes to the chacham. And she does hatarat nedarim. V'hitira. And she does hatarat nedarim on her vows. Mekudeshet. She's married. So if she gets married tonight, and he says, I marry you on condition that you have no nedarim. And we find out, wait, she has nedarim. She took them. So she's not married. But if tomorrow morning she goes to Shacharit, finds 3 chachamim, sits down, does hatarat nedarim, she comes back, she's married. Halacha etzel rofeh v'ripa ota. If she goes to the doctor tomorrow, the second lady, goes to the doctor, and he heals her wounds, ena mekudeshet. She's not married today. Why? The Gemara says why. The same story. Ma ben chacham le'rofeh. What's the difference between a chacham and a doctor? Say our rabbis, chacham oker haneder mi'ikaro. A chacham gets rid of the neder from its origins. Retroactively, there is no neder at all. V'rofeh no merapeh mikan haba. A doctor can't get rid of your illness yesterday. He can only heal you from here on out. So yesterday at the time of the wedding, did she have an illness? Yes, today it's gone, right? That doesn't help. Yesterday was the wedding. But today, is he getting rid of the neder today? No. The only way to get rid of that neder is to get rid of it yesterday. And so because the Chacham does that, that means there was no neder in the first place. That means that yesterday when she stood at her chuppah, there was no neder. She thought there was a neder, but there was no neder. Today, he showed her that yesterday there was no neder. It's gone. That's how Hatarat Nedarim works. Nothing happens today. The whole mechanism of Hatarat Nedarim helps you yesterday. It helps you when you made that neder, not today. Now, I know that this sounds very technical and very halachic, and what does it have to do with Teshuvah and Bekah? When understanding that halacha, yesterday I was speaking to someone, we're not a religion, just. We're not just a nation with a national law. We're many, many different things. And part of observing halachot and seeing how halacha works also helps us understand the religious and spiritual sides of the things we're trying to accomplish now. It's really nice that you have to get close to Hashem and you have to get rid of your avirot. But how? I'm asking you, how do I do that? Do teshuvah. But how does teshuvah work? It doesn't make sense that yesterday I killed somebody, today I say, I killed somebody, now it's okay. How can it work? And that's just, it doesn't work. Because you can't bring that person back to life. So how does teshuvah work? That's exactly what we're trying to explain. Rashi explains, Chacham moker et haneder mikaro. The Chacham gets rid of the neder from its origins. Sharei poteach becharata. It's the difference, by the way, between cutting the grass and uprooting the tree. When you cut the grass, the roots are still there. It'll grow back tomorrow. The tree, when you take it out of the ground with the roots, nothing will grow there again. Haim al dat ken nadart, v'hi omeret lo. So sharei poteach becharata. The Chacham first starts with charata. It says, did you mean to do this? No. וחם אומר לה, הרי הוא בא לך לכך לאו נדר הוא מותר לך, נמצא כמי שלא היה עליה בשעת קידושין. So because today he shows her that if 3 years ago when you made this neder you would have never made it, so it means that last night when she stood under the chuppah there was no neder, and because of that she's now a married woman. ועניין החרטה מבואר בגמרא נדרים. If you open up Masechet Nedarim to page 21b, you'll see there, שואלים אותו. The Bedin asks the person trying to annul his vow, Libecha alecha? Alayich? Is your heart with you? Meaning, Klomar, Omed ata al datcha rishona? Do you still intend to uphold the neder the way you did then? Kidu teheta? Meaning, Klomar, Haim tohe ata umitcharet shnadarta? Do you regret making this neder today? You're coming out to say, I want to get rid of my neder. Two things I need to know. Are you still in the same frame of mind you were then? Do you still want it? Or do you regret it? V'im omer shitcharet, and if he tells the rabbis, I regret it, metirim lo haneder, they annul his vow, and then retroactively it doesn't count. Achitzuan, this is all important to understand, shacharata tzricha liot mikara, that in order for charata to work, it has to have happened at the beginning. The person has to come to this realization of, I wish I would have never made this neder in the first place. But just because you feel bad now, but then you were okay with it, it doesn't work. Charata doesn't work if it starts today. Charata only works if it starts at the time that you made the neder. And this is the halacha exactly in the Shulchan Aruch. Listen to what Maran writes. Yoredea, chapter 228, halacha 7. Maran writes, Mi ish nitcharet beikar haneder. A person who has charata already at the origins of I wish I would have never done it. En tzarich petach. The Chacham doesn't have to go to the next phase of questioning and turn this into a petach. Ela, shishalenu hachacham, ata chafetz beneder zeh, v'omer eni chafetz bo. The Chacham simply asks, do you want this neder? And what do you say? No, I don't want it. Mitcharet ani shnadarti. I regret that I did the neder. Umatir lo. And he is matir. How does it be matir? What does it mean? What does he say? What does the Bedin say on Rosh Hashanah morning? Mutarim lachem, mutarim lachem, mutarim lachem. Sheruim lachem. It's mutar lecha. He said, now we use all the different terms, all the different words you possibly could use to be matir and neder. But technically, he just has to be matir. אבל צריך שיתחרט בעיקר הנדר. Says Maran, you have to make sure that he regrets the neder from the beginning. Shaya rotzeh shelo nadar me'olam, that he wishes that there was a reality in which he never made this neder. Aval im amar she'ata hu mitcharet, but if he says now I'm regretting it. Ve'ad ata, but until now hu chavetz b'mash nadar. I would have loved to keep the neder, but today something changed. I only regret it today. Yesterday I was so happy with the neder. What do you do then? Lo havi charata. It doesn't count as charata. Shetzarich sheyakor haneder mikaro, because again, Maran says the only way for charata to work is to get rid of it from the beginning. And if he's not willing to get rid of it from the beginning, then the neder is still here. Vizeher hanoder shlo yomar shemitcharet mikaro. It's very careful. You have to be very careful that you shouldn't say, I regret it from the beginning. Unless it's clear to you that that's the case. Because what happens if I come to the bedin and I realize if I tell the bedin that I regret it from yesterday, they'll nullify my vow. But if I tell them I only regret it starting today, what will the bedin do? We can't help you. At least not through the method of charata, because it only started today. So you coach people. Go to the bedin and tell them X, Y, and Z. People do this with Giyu all the time. Go to the bedin and tell the rabbi this, tell the rabbi that. You coach people on what to say. It's the way they do it in court now today in America too. You come to court and the prosecutor, they train you beforehand. They're going to ask you this, you answer that. Don't say what you think you should say. Say what I'm telling you should say. Yesterday I spoke to my brother-in-law at a wedding. Once had to hire a lawyer to deal with something. And the lawyer told him that when you come to court, don't tell the judge all the truth. You're supposed to tell the judge only the points that are going to blow the case out of the water. If it's just a truth, don't tell it to the judge. It doesn't matter. Meaning, I told you in Hebrew, the word for a lawyer, it means orech din, somebody who manipulates the judgment. That's their job. The job of a lawyer is to tell you, say this, don't say that, stand like this, dress like this. Lawyers have all kinds of tricks up their sleeve. But they're not wrong. That's how you win a court case in a case which the truth doesn't matter. You have to ask yourself then why you believe in such a court system. But when coming to the bedin, so let's say you lie and you win the court case. What about your neder? Did it go away? No. She'im lo ken en hatara mo'elet v'hu b'isur neder kol yamav. Judaism isn't magic. Just because you got the rabbi to say mutarim lachem, mutarim lachem, mutarim lachem, but you know you're lying, doesn't make you not have a neder. Now, why should it bother you that you have a neder? Because every time you break that neder, you're getting an averah. You're violating your word. So it doesn't help that, I went to bedin and they did hatan darim and good for me. What does that mean? But we have this in the bedin also. Of Giyu, for example. Did they really intend to keep the mitzvot? Did they not intend? How can you really know? You can only know what you can know. You can't read a person's heart. What if the person, their heart was deceitful? Well, these are questions that come up and it do something you worry about every time around. By the end of the day, who does that hang on? The person who came. If they trick the bedin. There's a book that was written, When the State Winks, about conversions in the state of Israel. If you want to make your life miserable, you can read it. In there, they talk about coaches telling, take a cross, tuck it in the shirt when you go to the bedin. Just tuck it in the shirt. Who says the story? The guy who went to convert. And he says, Rabbi, I keep Shabbat, I eat kasher, I put tefillin, I don't want to wear a kippah all day because I don't want to project myself as religious as that. Rabbi says, sorry, you can't convert. The next guy in line puts on the kippah, tucks his cross in, and goes into the water. So who's more honest? First one. And I don't know who that hangs on. That's already something else. And therefore you realize how important charata is. Hamilah charata, you hear, when you do hatan darim, how many times we use the word charata. Even in Kal Nidrei. All the time, charata, we're talking about this word, because that is the key to making hatan darim work. חוזרת פעמים מספר בהתרת נדרים שעושים בערב ראש השנה וערב יום הכיפורים. In all of the התרת נדרים that we do, ערב ראש השנה, ערב יום הכיפורים, the word חרטה, look, you have הסליחות, you go there. How many times do you find the word חרטה there? וכן בקל נדרי, של ליל יום הכיפורים. On Kal Nidrei, on the eve of Yom Kippurim, we say, Kulo nitcharat nabehon. All of them, we have charata about them. Ki hatarat nedarim zot mevuseset kula al charata. Because hatarat nedarim that we do in Erev Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippurim is based entirely on charata. Now what happens if a person doesn't regret the past? Does it mean we can't help them? Let's put the Teshuvah aside. Hatarat nedarim. They made a vow, a neder, oath, whatever. They made a neder, and today they're telling you, listen, yesterday I didn't regret it. Now I do, but only from here on out. I don't want to lie to you, Rabbi. Charata doesn't help in that case. So what do we tell them? Look in parentheses here, at the bottom of Kuf Tzaditet. Kamuvan, clearly, Adam she'eno mitcharet al avar, someone who doesn't regret the past, matirim lo nidro al idei petach. We annul his vow using the mechanism of petach. Ve'en ze mitchum nosenu, but it's not part of my essay here today. Meaning, how petach connects it to Teshuvah, it's not relevant for right now. Right now we're focusing on charata to be able to understand how Teshuvah works in our life. Now there's a type of neder, by the way, you can't annul. Somebody once came to me for hatarat nedarim, and I couldn't help him. They made a neder that they would never do a certain avira again. But they keep doing that avira. So what do they want me to do? Do hatarat nedarim for me on my neder, because now I do the avira, I already get one avira. But every time I do an avira now, I get one avira for doing the avira, and a second avira for breaking my vow. Help me out, Rabbi. Maran writes you can't help a person like that. By doing a hatara, it seems like you're telling them their avira is okay. You made a neder not to do an avira, that's your problem. We don't do nedarim to do mitzvot. Bad enough you have an obligation to do a mitzvah. I don't have to add to it now. Nedarim are not games. You don't play games with nedarim. People swear, I swear that. How did you hear somebody lie? I swear my mother's great. You hear that? People do this all the time in this country. They swear, and they know they're lying to you. It's almost like you hear someone say, I swear, you know they're lying. When people tell you, okay, you know what, let me tell you the truth. What does it mean that you're doing until now? Were you lying to me until now? Usually, when they say, let me tell you the truth, they're lying to you. People's words are very mamash. They don't matter for anything. I once had to give somebody. They wanted me to take them somewhere on Shabbat in the old city in Yerushalayim. They said, I don't have a phone on Shabbat. No, don't worry. I'm going to meet you by this place at 1:30 p.m. I said, it's August in Israel. You know how hot it is outside? I said 1:30 p.m. I'm going to stand there exactly 1:30 p.m. If you're not there, I'm going to go. No, what do you mean? I'm going to be there. Come on, give me 5 minutes, okay? Like 5-minute window. Boom, I watch. 1:30, 1:35, 1:40, 1:45, 2, 2:15, 2:15 I left. Motzei Shabbat, they called me so angry. I said, what time did you come? 4:30. What happened? Oh, I had a friend, I met them on the way, we had to talk, da-da-da. Okay, good for you, but I was waiting outside for you. I said, I went to one of my rabbis, I don't want to mention his name. I said, I don't know, how did it work? Because Shabbat reminded me of a day when people didn't have cell phones. Like, today you text a person, I'm running 3 hours late. But what did you do before you had the opportunity to text people? He told me. He said, you made up with people who kept their word. You have to find somebody who, when they said 1:30, it meant 1:30. Today we rely on the fact that we can, myself, 5 minutes before, I'm running 20 minutes late. You can do that. But on a day where you can't do that, like Shabbat, so then you find out who are the liars from the honest people. And you live in a world where it's so easy to lie, that people don't really regret the things they say. They don't even mean the things they say in the first place. People say all kinds of things. As I once told Haraperetz, it's not really a lie to say Shabbat Shalom tonight, you're not telling anybody tonight is Shabbat. Nobody thinks when you say Shabbat Shalom tonight that it's Shabbat. Harapetz doesn't say Shabbat Shalom until it's Shabbat. Meaning when he leaves his house to Mincha, he tells his wife goodbye. Only when he comes back from the Beit HaKnesset, Shabbat Shalom. So Harapetz says, you can make an argument for any which way. I said, but when you start teaching yourself to lie about little things, then you lie about the big things too. I don't want to lie about big things. I'd rather tell you that right now it's 9:24 than to tell you it's 9:30. I'd rather that. Because then I'm teaching myself to always be... Now, when you tell a person, hey, what time is it? It's 9:25. They don't expect you to tell them how many seconds it is. If it's 9:24, you tell 9:25, nobody's going to penalize you for that. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what other people... It doesn't matter about you. So your words are important. That's the whole reason for all of these laws. Av Hatarat Nedarim. I want to jump into a section with you about Hatarat Nedarim that we do in the form of Kal Nidrei. So Yom Kippurim night, this is the highlight of the Tefillah, originally among the Ashkenazim, and then this became a Sephardic thing also, to do Kal Nidrei. The history of that, you could go look it up yourself, how that works, and we're going to talk a little bit about it together.
I was supposed to talk about it right before Kol Nidra.
Right, I always talk about it right before we bid for the Kal Nidrei auctions, and then we wonder why we don't get a $3 million bid. Kal Nidrei is really complicated. You're annulling vows. When? In the evening. Batei Din don't meet at night. We don't do Bet Din anything at night. Also, you're doing it on Yom Kippurim. We already have a precedent in Halakha that we don't do Hatarat Nedarim, not on Rosh Hashanah and not on Yom Kippurim. Okay, so there are some communities who are particular to start Kal Nidrei before the sun sets. Fine, good. Let's keep going. Is there a Bedin there? No, there's no Bedin standing there for Hatarat Nedarim. Okay, maybe there's one Chacham who's an expert in Halakha. Is there a Chacham there that is doing the Kal Nidrei? I don't know, not really. And then talk to me about the language of the Hatarat Nedarim. So we take out a Torah, or many Torahs, and we start saying, Kal Nidrei, then we say, Yom Kippurim Shavar, from last Yom Kippurim, Ad Yom Kippurim Hazeh. I'm talking about all the Nedarim that I made from last year until this year. I'm annulling all of them. Can you annul Nedarim of yesterday, today? Only with Charata. Okay, watch. Then we say, especially the Sfaradim, I don't think the Ashkenazim say this. Yom Kippurim hazeh, ad Yom Kippurim haba alenu l'tova. From this Yom Kippurim until next year Yom Kippurim. How do you annul something you didn't do yet? Is there a mechanism in halakha that allows for that? Because that clearly doesn't utilize charata. There is no regret, I didn't do anything yet. So what exactly is this hatarat nedarim that I'm doing? And if I did it for last year, for the year before, and next year, then why this year am I talking about last year? And if I'm talking about next year, then why do I have to do Kal Nidrei next year? I'll just wait another year, maybe every 2 years to do Kal Nidrei. Something about this whole ceremony, there's no bedin, it's at night, it's on Yom Kippurim, it talks about last year, this year, next year, it looks like you're trying to cover all your bases. But in doing so, it doesn't actually tick any halachic boxes. So what's happening in Kal Nidrei? And this brings Rabbi Chaim Halevy to a section called Charata Tere Maaseh. How to do Charata before you even, how to regret something before you even did it. Is there such a thing in halakha? He says, "Vet kol omek harayon shel maaseh." All the depth of how charata works can be found. Shebsiso hu hakara v'ratzon. We said you need two things to be guilty of a chet. You need hakara. What do you say? Intent, and consciousness and intent. Right? You need both. V'makom shar charata tofeset. We also understand that charata is very important. How important it is? Nitan lilmod, you can learn it, mechidush nosaf, from this extra novel thing that we do, sheyesh b'dinei hatarat nedarim, that is found in the laws of hatarat nedarim. And that is kal nidrei. In particular, the part of kal nidrei that focuses on all the averot that you do from today onwards that you didn't do yet. How does that type of charata work?
Like, just thinking about it psychologically, there's a space of like self-awareness where you know you're struggling with something and you regret that you're struggling with it, but it's also like knowing your place within yourself.
We're talking about things that you don't know yet. Things you don't know that you're going to do yet. These are not repeat behaviors from yesterday. By the way, you can't do hatarat nedarim. Can you do teshuvah for something you're still doing? No. Mark Twain said he quit smoking between every cigarette. If you're still smoking, you're not quitting smoking. You're just taking a break. Taking a break is nice. It means you're not doing averot right now, but it doesn't mean that you're doing teshuvah for averot. I mean, there's value to taking a break from doing averot. I only do chataim on Sundays. Okay, that's good. Meaning Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, you're not doing chataim. That's great. It doesn't mean though you can do teshuvah. You're not a candidate for teshuvah yet. So long as you have scheduled chet Sundays, sin Sundays, I don't know what you call them. These chataim are still not valid for teshuvah. They don't work yet. They're not, like I said, they're not candidates for teshuvah. I want to read this section to you. I'm afraid of the time. Officially, I'm supposed to start Arvit now. Once the Lichot starts at 15 minutes. I want to stick to the time that I promised. Let me stop now. Next week I'm going to take apart Kal Nidrei. If you have a chance to start looking into the history of Kal Nidrei, when did it start being said? Who were the first communities who said it? How did it spread? What are the variant texts? This is stuff that is very easily available online. It's not, you don't have to have any special books for this. I believe there's even a famous essay from, I'm not a student of his, but randomly he writes essays that are wonderful to read. Rabbi Cardozo, I think his name, Cardozo. He wrote an essay once about Kal Nidrei. It has a catchy name, but I forget the title of that essay right now. I recommend you read a little bit of Kal Nidrei, because next week I'm not only going to be reading Rabbi Chaim Halevy, I'll take you into the tool, I'll take you into Shulchan Aruch. I want to show you some actual halachic examples about Kal Nidrei to see how that works and to see, are we really able to say something for the future that will get rid of any nidarim that we're about to say. And we do this a lot. How many times have you heard someone say, well, b'li neder, I'll do X, Y, and Z. What do you mean b'li neder? So you're promising without a promise? What is a promise without a promise? It's not a promise. What is that? Does that work? Do I have to do hatarat nedarim on something that I say b'li neder about? How long do I have? What's my grace period before I can cancel my neder? Like, until when can I say b'li neder? What if I wait?
Something like maybe the time to say the Shema or...
So this, we're going to have to understand some of these details here to begin to understand the next level of Teshuvah that Rabbi Chaim Halevy is trying to explain to us. In order to do that, we have to have a whole introduction about Kal Nidrei, which we'll do together, God willing, and then our final class will be the following week, and we'll go straight into Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippurim, hopefully with a better understanding not just of Hatarat Nedarim and Kal Nidrei, but about how we do Teshuvah personally by following halachic principles of Teshuvah, and not just all kinds of other self-invented ideas of Teshuvah. Until then,